Right now we're taking Twitter requests, so if you go follow UTRO8 on Twitter, we've got all the links there, or the Radar blog, got the links there too. So, sorry for the interruption, but if you want to get a question in, we're going to try to real-time this thing.
Business model.
Our business model today is we focus on charging per stream. We charge per minute. So what we do is we go in and explain to them and talk to them about what they're paying for a minute of cable television. We try to marry into that same business model. And so that leaves the content provider the option of, do I want to charge? Do I want it to be brand augmentation? Do I want it to be advertising supported, subscription supported? Since we're not a portal, our model is to deliver the video. And so our customers have multiple models. We charge them per minute. Now for the giants, for the media giants, we also have flexible revenue sharing models. But the primary way to enter the market is to go in and say, it costs this much per minute.
How are they responding to that?
Well, actually, they like it. We had a discussion with one of the big nature brands. That's all I can say is in Washington, D.C., not too long ago. And we're sitting down talking, and the senior vice president saw all the stuff you saw, and he basically said, I love this. This is great. And then he said, he kind of slumped in his seat and he says, tell me how much it costs. So we asked him, how many minutes do you stream? How many viewers? We talked about that. Turns out he's got about 5 million minutes a month. And within 10 seconds, we'd given him some pricing calculations. And he said, this usually takes 3 days. We have to have network engineers in and peak gigabits per second and all kinds of different routing, geography, distribution discussions, and then we get a price. We get a price in 5 minutes. So they like the simplicity of it.
Can you give us a little ballpark on a percentage over traditional streaming? Like what?
Sure. Let's start with, because it is a little bit of education process. Today, if you
Short version.
This is the short version. Okay. Today, if you look at cable television, the MSOs, it costs them about 15 cents an hour to deliver standard def and about 22 cents an hour to deliver high def. If you look at a CDN HD delivery, it's about 10 times that much. We're real close to the cable TV cost, so we can get down significantly under 30 cents an hour for the right kind of customers. And they can monetize that. That's what they tell us.
And this is a plugin that goes into the browser?
It is a browser plugin. Virtually anything that's going to improve the video quality on your computer is going to require a plugin. They range in size from 2 megabytes to about 30 megabytes. Ours is 2 megabytes.
Move, I know, is, how do you compare this to what Move's doing?
We have a lot more technology. Move is a great set of technologies. I did the due diligence on them in 2006 for Steamboat. I know a lot about their technology. They're basically a player layer and a set of network protocols that works and marries up with a CDN or a CDN-like architecture. In contrast to that, we don't do edge caching. We actually have a smart infrastructure and a lot more intelligence out in the distributed network. So it's a very different technology. If you step back from Silicon Valley, you'll find this isn't about YouTube and Move and BitGravity. This is about Tanagram and a lot of the other people who are doing IPTV, only we have an internet, a pure internet solution for it to get commercial grade video.
What happens if Comcast starts throttling the bandwidth into the home?
Well, we do have some technology solutions there. First of all, we go over pure port 80. We look like HTTP data. Secondly, if they want to throttle per channel, we can multi-channel. So we do have some solutions there, but I think in the big picture, ultimately the Comcasts of the world want this, because this is focused on commercial grade media. They want to use this as an augmentation to the revenue model. Think of this as, if you ever wanted to solve the problem of premium content and pay-per-view and offline, this is a whole lot smarter model than trying to get a next generation set-top box in there.
How would you compare yourself to Brightcove?
Sorry?
How would you compare yourself to Brightcove?
Brightcove is basically an advertising model and a flash player. So what Brightcove does is they have a CMS and they bring your content in. Brightcove's a classic middle market solution. For people for whom this is all too hard, what they want is they want to hear, give me flash, let me stream medium and short format out there. I can't mess with the quality very much, and Brightcove will sell your ads. I've seen it, and it requires 4.5 megabits per second at the minimum, and it has a 17 decibel PSNR drop.
What does that mean?
It sucks. The video is not good quality. The video is distractingly bad quality. There's the techie measurements for video, and then there's the, as I experienced it, this whole thing in movies, did it break my suspension of disbelief? If the quality drops below a certain amount, it distracts you from the content. And so if you have too much buffering and too much pixelation, then what you're doing is you're eroding the watching experience. For my personal eyes, standard def is fine. For my kids, HD, anything below HD, and they can tell when I'm showing SD versus HD. They'll say, show the HD. I can barely tell the difference. and they can spot it by the corner of their eye. So, you know, we can deliver pure HD without a quality drop.
So one of the things we've found is that any solution that the end user requires a download or a plugin or something like that is a huge barrier to adoption. I mean, have you done any kind of side-by-side tests of, you know, your solution where the download is required?
Absolutely.
Any non-download required solutions?
Yeah, and the requirements are, the results are very telling. It's night and day. If the content is one-off content and they don't know the brand, they will not plug in anything. If they are going for commercial grade content, or they're going to watch in our case, like a Rihanna video, which got 70 million views, if they're going to watch that kind of stuff, they'll clearly download something. They just want to know, was that a trusted place? For example, we are Trustee certified. We're whitelisted on Trustee. The users can see that when they download. And so what we're really measuring is what we call abandonment differential. As you're navigating through a website, there's this classic abandonment rate where they should have gone to the next page and they didn't. And by the time they get to the plugin, what's the comparative abandonment rate versus the rest of the navigation? It's actually lower. So fewer people decide not to download than decide to ever get to the page where they could have in the first place. So it's not a big problem for the content. If you change content, then the abandonment rate could be as high as 95%. So in our case, it's tiny.
Last question, this one's coming live from the internet. We're asked, someone asked what kind of encryption you're using, what kind of overhead that's adding to it, what's happening with all the encryption.
For the consumer, they can't see anything because the CPUs of all the machines we're QAing can easily handle it. We're using encryption that's roughly the same class of encryption you use when you do online banking. So when we encrypt from the data center all the way to the computer, up through the IP stack and into the player. And basically, if someone tried to tap into the player and turn on a debugger, we would detect that and shut it down. So it's encrypted all the way.
And then, but the second half of the question is there overhead? Are we losing video quality as a result?
You're not losing video quality. One of the things we do is we measure video quality. I would say that if you wanted to get right down and pick the tiny nuances, if you had a completely borderline machine, right on the edge, yes, we would have to take the video down half an notch